So if you think about it as a rock, paper, scissors, this is a hard matchup for Corey.
Correct. This is going to be, unless outside of his most aggressive draws, he's just not actually going to be able to close the game before the card Scape Shift goes so far over the top of anything he can reasonably put out.
Our other matchups here, we have Shaheen Soorani, of course, playing control. Azorius control, heavy on planeswalkers.
I'll bet he taps out a bunch too, huh?
Yeah, there aren't instants here.
Wow. Who could have seen this coming?
He's up against Ben Reilly, who's on Pure Steel Paladin.
That one's going to come down a lot to whether or not Shaheen is able to have some sort of interaction for the Pure Steel Paladin cards.
Yeah, because he's not Jeskai, he doesn't have Lightning Bolts. He really just has Path to Exile as a tool he can use there, at least on the first turn.
Correct, and there's also a point where if Reilly doesn't actually kill Soorani on the play, if Soorani gets that third turn, Narset can actually shut down the Pure Steel combo.
Legacy table, Pete Ingram's on 4-color control. Kenton Najdzien is on Bomberman. This is a Karn the Great Creator deck, also with Auriok Salvagers, that figures to be actually pretty decent against these Ren and 6 decks we're seeing in the top 8.
Right, so those are a lot of decks that are trying to win on the back of things like Wasteland loops or just beating up on other people trying to win with Wastelands or playing a more streamlined game of Magic that isn't good at grinding. These are things like your Delver of Secrets decks, for example. But Bomberman is, one, able to go very fast and kill as early as the first turn, technically, because of Lotus Petals, Soul Lands, etc. And then also, it's able to fight through a bit of disruption because it does have some card advantage elements in the Forge that it plays, as well as Karn the Great Creator.
Corey's team's going as the number 2 seed in our tournament, so they get to be on the play. Now the number 1 seed, Ayers, Dilks, and Magalhaes are out of the tournament. Corey's team will be on the play as long as they are still in the event. Looks like Corey on a mulligan, however.
Gonna have to say, in their position, I would like to stay in the tournament as long as possible. It's gonna be very good for them if they can do that.
Usually good things happen.
I'm a bit of a tournament expert, if you will. That's why they put a microphone in front of my mouth.
So in the elimination tournaments, I need to stay in the tournament.
I've
been doing it wrong.
Matthias, you're getting it.
That's why I'm in the booth. Had that one backward.
Well, no, we're going to be here the whole tournament.
Oh, okay. We'll be here in the finals. You're
Locked it up,
absolutely
played
right.
Perfect, got rewarded.
That seems really relevant in the modern match we have here, especially when you're against something like Pure Steel Paladin.
Right, being able to sort of develop something like Mana Leak before your opponent can put a Pure Steel Paladin onto the battlefield is going to be colossal.
Corey's going to have a 6-card hand here. Looks like he's kept picking which card has to go to the bottom. And here we are. Corey starting off, going to commune with some of the dinosaurs in his deck, see what he can find.
Always been a talkative one.
Galta. Now, Drover the Mighty's in here. That one not, unfortunately, a dinosaur, so I don't think he can take that.
Bright side, Galta
is
big.
Yeah.
Galta Stomp.
Galta Primal Hunger, a 12/12.
That card's worth 6 zombie tokens.
It's actually one of the ways you can still win after Sky has made zombies.
Right. You need a lot. You need some big dinos to beat that many zombies.
What about Hasty Galta? Here's Odapek Huntmaster.
That's the start. This is how it works.
We saw Corey yesterday in the tournament curve this into a turn 3 Rotting Regisaur and turn 4 Galta and win. This is a little less exciting, just attack and pass.
Oof.
It's going to be Teferi Time Raveler from Sky. That'll put the Huntmaster back into Corey's hand.
And this is particularly rough because he knows that Baumeister couldn't really do anything with a virtual 4-mana last turn, so it's unlikely he can do it this turn.
This is actually a very slow start from Sky Mason to not have Arboreal Grazer, Growth Spiral, but he actually, thanks to Teferi, has managed to keep his head above water here.
Right, we can see an Elvish Rejuvenator hiding out in his hand as well.
Yeah, it has Scape Shift, Elvish Rejuvenator, some lands. I think ideally we'd have Circuitous Route here. And some quick results. Remember, this team, Sky Mason's team, none of the players on their team are looking to play long game, and that's exactly what happened on our legacy table. It's the first result. Kenton Najdzien takes game 1.
Lion's Eye Diamond and winning in 4 minutes. Tale as old as time.
So Teferi plus tier. That suggests there is something like circuitous route hanging out that he's going to end step.
Right. This is the spot where Mason has that breathing room that he needs. He's just trying to get as much on the battlefield as possible at this point. Elvish Rejuvenator wasn't a very efficient use of his mana, so that's not really what he wants to be using it on.
Marauding Raptor takes care of the Planeswalker, but here is that instant speed circuitous route. Sky going to ramp up to 6. 7 plus Scapeshift next turn. We know it's in his hand, so that's going to be available.
That's just good math. And, you know, there's a point where, especially when you have that Rejuvenator, you may end up just wanting to wait a little bit. The big reason for that is every additional land you have up to 10 is going to be worth X more zombies, just because that's an additional copy of Field of the Dead.
Yeah, unlike modern Scapeshift that just wins on 7 lands, this deck rewards you for shifting on 8, on 9, on 10. Each turn you can wait, it gets better.
Exactly, and without something like Samut in the deck to give all the cards haste, or all the zombie tokens haste, you actually still need to win in a way that is pretty fair for a Scapeshift deck.
You actually see this out of Sky. He had the option to Hydroid Krasis for 4, but really no interest. Instead, that land is worth so much, he'll just play Elvish Rejuvenator.
Ooh, he sees a Field of the Dead in this Elvish Rejuvenator, and he's thinking of not taking it, because he wants to just put a bunch of lands into play if he's planning to Scapeshift next turn.
Okay, and that's exactly it. He passes on Field of the Dead for Temple of Mystery. Has a Scry 1. Don't think he did the Scry 1 because he's going to Scapeshift right away.
Right.
No point. 8 lands.
Scry top, whatever.
Yeah, Scry, I'm about to shuffle. Doesn't matter. So, Field of the Dead.
Oh, he found one.
There we
Look
go.
how
Hey,
fast
there it
he
is.
found it.
It's in the bottom 4. So each Field of the Dead, which he'll be able to get 2 of them, means that when a land enters the battlefield, he will get 2 zombies. About to put 8 lands into play, so that should be good for 16 zombies.
Casual 32 power and toughness. And if my math is right, that is more than Corey's 3 power and 5 toughness.
That is even more than Galta. And looking at the main deck, I don't know that Corey has a way to get out from under this.
No, he doesn't really have any sort of sweeper in his main deck.
Only removal is Savage Stomp.
He does have 3 copies of Flame Sweep out of the sideboard, but that's just not in play yet.
Right, and that'll certainly change how games are played post-board. Yeah, was not fast enough here. And 16. Oh, do we have enough?
Oh.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that's 6. Is that 16?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
There we go. Oh, look at them all.
Corey
Just,
with the assist.
I love it. Just fan them out.
The whole
There's
horde.
a lot. Yeah, that's probably 16. Oh, boo.
Don't like that.
Boo. Corey's saying, hey, how about we just use the giant stack of them?
Wow, okay, I guess. Better and more of these next week.
664 or 655? What's your style pick?
I do like the 556. I like multiples of 5. They're easy.
How about 5551?
Ooh, wow. That's...
Now we're just losing dice equity.
Yeah, this is... What if 1 1 1 1 1 1
Oh, I like this one. Just poker chips?
3. Just a 3 at the end.
Okay. I like that.
All right, well, so here's Galta and Marauding Raptor. So there's actually a reasonable amount to like about this as long as Corey can stay alive because, you know, basically what needs to happen here is Corey needs to find a way to actually punch through any amount of damage and hope that Mason makes a mistake.
Right, so Galta attacks here. I mean, if Mason just says no blocks, he has the win, right?
Probably.
Okay. Mason has 16 zombies. There's only 2 blockers. Unless this is a lethal attack, I don't see a reason for him to block. I love that Corey goes for this line.
Oh, yeah. He
He
just
said
you
no
see him
blocks
go.
and then pick it up.
You see him just go,
What are you doing, man?
go to 7, and Corey's like, yeah, man.
Love it. You see the smile on Corey's face. He's making that attack and just trying to keep a straight face.
had to make you do it.
So game 1 goes to Sky Mason. Over on our modern table, Shaheen Soorani picks up the win. So that's 1 for Azorius Control, so not a sweep.
Saw Soorani in the background getting a 3rd turn.
Oh,
And that's
you
got
don't like to see that.
It's got to favor the Celestial Colonnade deck most of the time.
All right, so for post-4 games, Corey has Flame Sweep. And if we saw the board that just happened there, that's going to matter a lot.
Exactly. So this is a spot where Corey actually will have a way to catch up with this overwhelmingly colossal battlefield. So we're going to see Sky maybe balancing a little bit more to only stop at, say, 16 zombies instead of going all in on 30 or 40 for the sake of overkill.
Over the sideboard there. So how does Sky fight back?
Really the thing that you might end up seeing from Sky here are Deputy of Detention and Ixalan's Binding to make sure things just don't get too far out of control. The ways that you lose are not usually going to be things like Ripjaw Raptor, it's going to be things like Rotting Regisaur and Galta. So having ways to actually check those is fairly important.
Have those removal spells, but that's about it. And on Corey's side, I think outside of the Flame Sweeps, I don't see much he can do as well unless he wants Theater of Horrors.
You could end up seeing Theater of Horrors come in just because Sky's not really ever going to interact with it, and it's very close just to 3-mana Personal Howling Mine. And Corey's important cards, the Flame Sweeps in this case, are so much more important than everything else in his deck that giving himself a little bit more selection and velocity is really going to be worth it. On one hand, Sky's going to see it coming if it gets exiled with Theater of Horrors, but his deck isn't very well equipped to really counter it at all, other than just by playing through it and hoping that he can make more zombies after that.
So if you haven't had a chance to head over to the weekly sale, it is almost out for the weekend. We've been having a sale on thousands of different HP cards, that's heavily played cards, but still tournament legal. You can get some of these staples you need to finish out that deck at quite the price. So check them out, starcgames.com/sale. The sale switches tomorrow morning.
Emrakul would have been so much bigger than Galta that game. It would have definitely killed 6 zombies and also dealt 15. I think Corey thought about putting Emrakul in his deck.
Olapec Huntmaster can't give it haste.
Jesus. Yeah, you're right.
That's why it's
This
worse.
is why I'm in the booth.
There we go. That's why you can't cast it.
This is textbook why he's in the feature match area. And why I'm in here trying to put modern cards in standard decks. Rookie mistake.
The Galta does seem like one of the most important cards in Corey's side. Galta and Regisaur, we're really looking at the power to mana cost ratio on these.
Right, and you could make a case for something like Regisaur Alpha just because it is one card producing 7 total power.
Sure.
And that has a bunch of value. But there's a point where even if you don't necessarily look at it about mana efficiency, just a single card only being worth so much damage is not going to be good enough a good chunk of the time. Something like Marauding Raptor, even without a ton of other dinosaurs to back it up, might not end up being good enough if Corey draws too much of the disruptive half of his deck, for example.
Do you like cards on Corey's side like Otapec Huntmaster and Marauding Raptor? These haste givers, cost discounting cards, they seem pretty, especially in a matchup where he just needs to go fast. They seem important.
Right. Being able to just give all of his creatures haste is so important. You brought it up earlier, but today, or yesterday, I believe it was actually, we saw a curve from Corey that just went turn 2 Huntmaster, turn 3 cast a Rotting Regisaur, give it haste, turn 4 cast a Galta, give the Galta haste.
Win.
Yeah, game ends on the spot. The Dinosaur's deck has the ability to just put out so much damage so quickly when fueled by Otapec Huntmaster.
Corey, it's those go fast cards we're looking for. Even Collision. Not Collision Colossus, and I'm looking at the Colossus half of it. It's something I could see Corey being pretty interested in.
Yeah, Colossus, the nice thing about Colossus is it's a way to punch through damage over things as well as possibly get Sky if he maybe gets sloppy and only puts, say, 6 zombies in front of a Galta instead of all of them.
You don't want to see something like Rotting Regisaur being blocked by Elvish Rejuvenator.
Ooh.
Just Colossus through that.
Giving Trample is so strong in that card, and there's even a case that could be made for Collision on Hydroid Crisis.
Yeah. Second match we've seen for Bant Scapeshift, and in both times, even though they play for Hydroid Crisis, I haven't been particularly impressed with the card in the deck.
No, honestly, the big thing is that it's just something to do when you don't have a Scapeshift. We've never seen the Bant Scapeshift deck while it failed, so to speak. We've always seen the Circuitous route into Scapeshift draw. But whenever you don't have a Scapeshift and you need to find it, Crisis is just one of the best ways to commit to the battlefield while also digging through your library.
This time, Corey keeping on 7. Both players on 7. And again, we'll start out with a Commune. 5 cards. Land or Dinosaur for Corey. We're gonna have Phyrexian Commune with Dinosaurs.
Celebrity shot from the judge there, getting in on the mana tapping action. Shout out to our judge staff.
Decisions for Corey. I always like playing these matchups from the aggro side. I feel like you just have to think about your own cards. You know, you have one variable you're trying to like do as efficiently as possible. It's like you're looking at every card and thinking how much damage, how fast.
Exactly. So in a lot of ways, it even doesn't feel like a variable sometimes because it is just a constant, I need to deal 20.
Right. So like he takes Shifting Ceratops. You know, you get to look at that and you think, okay, it's a 5/4 for 4. If I get it on turn 3, then it's 5 on turn 4, 5 on turn 5. There are probably no more turns of the game. So this is a 10-point card if I have nothing else to play. Okay. Cool. That's what it is.
Exactly. Weighing how many turns it's going to be in the battlefield versus its power is a great way to think about how strong of a quote-unquote burn spell it is going to be.
Now, a big slowdown, and we see this from Sky. He had a copy of Prison Realm taking care of turn 2 Otepec Huntmaster, and that's really going to slow Corey down. A removal spell, especially on that's going to give haste, worth 1 turn, maybe 2.
Right. That's just going to shift the clock so dramatically because it is going to make Corey pay full price for all of his cards, and they're going to not get to start attacking until a turn later. This is a big swing in Mason's favor.
Now Circuitous route as well brings him up to 6. At this point, it feels like Corey's hope is that Mason does not have a finisher.
Exactly. You're at the point where with ramp decks, you need to have your enablers and your payoff cards and your lands, and in this point, there's even a disruption spell that Mason spent a piece of cardboard on. So the way that you end up winning games like this is when your opponent is just missing a piece, in this case, the payoff card, since we've seen everything else so far.
Regisaur Alpha, a big block, and Mason takes 3. And you talked about games where they don't just have the Scapeshift, and we're going to see one of those. It's Hydroid Crisis. But we are into zombie territory. Looks like the first 7 lands all have different names, so that 7th land being Field of the Dead does create our first 2/2.
And now Mason actually has a reasonable number of blockers on the battlefield.
Yeah, you're playing against a ramp deck, and you're getting to the point of the game where their cards are doing silly things. Corey really has to make some inroads.
Yeah, this is a stressful spot because if you don't apply enough pressure, this zombie token doesn't have to chump block. You can just make a favorable block with your Hydroid Crisis, take a chunk of damage, and then it's not unlikely that Mason makes 3-4 zombies next turn and gets to start making profitable double blocks.
We know Corey has Shifting Ceratops in hand. That's going to be the play. Hydroid Crisis cannot block it. Has protection from blue.
And now that the Ceratops has 2 damage because of the Raptor, the zombie can even block it.
That would be a trade. Absolutely. Will Corey still attack it? No, it has to stay home for that reason. So the 4-4 Regisaur Alpha, the 4-3 Marauding Raptor. Both get in there. Looks like going to be a trade with Regisaur. That makes sense. Future creatures will not have haste. And Corey just has to pass it. No damage. Now we can see, did Mason draw Scape Shift? He had 3 cards last turn off the Krasis.
Not in love with the chump block of the zombie there, just because when you're on a fair plan without the card Scape Shift, every body matters, and he's at 17.
I feel like we could have waited for a 2-for-1.
Right, if you can just take the haste away from things, it's unlikely you get got by a Galta as it is.
Yeah. Elvish Rejuvenator finds a land, which is going to be a zombie. Land for turn is going to be another one.
And see here, if he's likely going to be getting another zombie this turn, and if he has an even number of zombies, that's 2 double blocks instead of a single block and a double block.
Yeah, you're right. Because he doesn't have another payoff spell, see Deputy of Detention, Growth Spiral, and Elvish Rejuvenator, he can't just throw away zombies. Another Rejuvenator. We do see, is it another Field of the Dead? It is not.
And also we see a Scape Shift going to the bottom.
And Sky's going to pass with Growth Spiral up. Back to Corey we go.
And, you know, for what it's worth, these Elvish Rejuvenator bodies are relevant and do bump those up to odd numbers of power.
Yeah, they get to 3, right? So you can now trade with Marauding Raptor. You can trade with the token.
Correct. The big thing is that you want to put, say, 2 2/2s in front of a 3/3 because then you're making a profitable block and that you're trading a 2/2 for a 3/3. Because you get to keep the other one left over rather than trying to make an exact amount of toughness.
Well, or you can try. Here's Flame Sweep. A huge Flame Sweep from Corey. Kills all his opponent's creatures and none of his. And attack for 10. Sky down to 7.
Wow. And
that's a big play.
This is actually a great reason for Sky to have made that chump block last turn, is if he was playing around that card. That was a very heads-up play from Mason. I want to give him some credit for that.
End step Growth Spiral. Sky has not found the card he needs. He gets Arboreal Grazer, gets a zombie, and last card is Deputy of Detention. Remember, that cannot take the pro-blue creature. So it'll remove the token. But Sky's going to need a Scape Shift. To Corey we go, trying to send this to a 3rd game. Looks like just the Ceratops. For a green, it can gain Trample. And Corey will do that. Has 2 Trample over the Grazer, so Sky is down to 5.
Top of Sky's library is good at this point because even lands are of value.
Worst case scenario, he has a 2/2. And that is going to be what he gets.
All right, it wasn't another Arboreal Grazer.
2 zombies can team up to block the Ceratops. And they're going to have to, it has to be blocked. Corey side, we see another Marauding Raptor. A swing for 9. Double block and a chump block. So 1 tramples over.
All right, Mason's facing down lethal.
Land. It's a blocker.
Okay.
Unless Corey has another creature. Does he have one?
And
his deck is mostly creatures, and that's Domri.
That's good enough?
That's good enough. Because now it can fight. One fights down the token, and Corey just shoves in. So 1-1, he sends it to a 3rd game.
What a game.
And you feel just how on the ropes this matchup is for Corey. That, even though he won, that game didn't feel solid.
No, we definitely, it's hard not to feel like Mason didn't brick a ton. He had, 11, 12 lands there at the end. And if he hit a Scape Shift, he would have ended up with, no exaggeration, 40-ish zombies.
Right. And even if he gets flooded, and say there's another land was a Field of the Dead, he might win that game too.
Right, because then at that point he gets 2 2/2s and just really gets to start going from there.
So good news from Corey Baumeister's side. His teammate Shaheen Soorani, a 2-0 winner on the modern table, takes the first match.
Ooh. And, you know, this is unsurprising. We saw Pete Ingram make the finals at the Team Open in Cincinnati earlier this year. So he's just really, you can tell that he picked a team that is hungry to get that trophy, take it home.
So we are going to move over to the legacy table where Pete Ingram and Kenton Najdzien are getting ready for game number 3. With their backs against the wall, Kenton's going to need this game to keep the match going.
Right. No one has anything else left to give here.
So Bomberman versus 4-color control. And all hands on deck. Corey's going to move in to help talk over the sideboarding of this. On the 4-color side, you know, he's won the sideboard game, has Pete. So game 1, going toward Bomberman, you do expect to see that.
Correct. That's something where your disruption just isn't really configured for what the opponent is doing. But when you're post-board, you have access to Cinder Vines and Ingram's sideboard. That card is incredible in this matchup.
Cinder Vines, yeah, absolutely.
Ancient Grudges as well. It's
Right.
hard not to feel like Ingram's sideboard is not paying a ton of respect to these matchups. This is so good here.
And there is some pressure on Pete's deck. He does have Tarmogoyfs and Delver Secrets in this list, so a fast clock's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see out of his sideboard here that he just has a lot of good things going for him between Surgical Extraction, Thoughtseize, Ancient Grudge, Cinder Vines. He could even end up bringing in Plague Engineer if he wants additional answers to Monastery Mentor.
Yeah, the list he's playing is almost just a Teamer Delver deck. He has Leovold in it as a black card, and then some black cards in the sideboard.
Right.
Which, I feel like with these 4-color Ren and 6 decks, the closer you get to Teamer or Is It Delver, the better you get against a combo deck like Bomberman.
Correct, and the big reason for that is you just want to develop some sort of pressure, Delver of Secrets, Goyf, like you had mentioned, and then sort of have a protect the queen strategy where you disrupt a little bit of what your opponent does and 3 them. And you disrupt them a little bit and you 3 them. And you do that 7 times and all of a sudden, they're dead.
Caracas and Bauble for Kenton. And we'll get a look at what the Bomberman deck is loading up here as Thoughtseize. See Auriok Salvagers, Swords to Plowshares, and Chalice of the Void.
Without knowing the texture of Ingram's hand, I would be inclined to lean towards the Chalice because it shuts off so many cards from these Delver-esque strategies. But if he has one of those copies of Ancient Grudge or something to that effect, then he may not be so worried about it.
Yeah, he ends up having to take the Chalice. There was another interesting line available. He does have Tarmogoyf and multiple Wastelands, so if he wanted to, he could have tried to just take the Salvagers and let Kenton Chalice on one, but I think that's just too risky.
Oh, and then it counters the sword, and you just really do that.
Yeah, and just hope the Tarmogoyf runs the distance.
Yeah, yeah. That's shaky.
I don't blame him for not going for that. That's one of those lines that when I see a Thoughtseize, I think about and then say no.
Oh, yeah, you definitely go, this could work. And then you go, all right, no.
It's like, I don't need to do this.
So you just feel so bad if all of a sudden another basic planes comes off the top.
Walking Ballista for 1. That was the draw from Kenton. Also drew Ancient Tomb off his Bauble. So next turn, Salvagers will hit the battlefield. If he gets to keep his lands.
Hypothetically, of course.
I can't imagine what would happen to him.
So generally speaking, when you play these Delver strategies where you're the aggressor, if you have the ability to make a threat, you want to do that before you continue disrupting. But taking a glance at Ingram's hand, he doesn't actually have a way to cast this Tarmogoyf. He's missing another fetch land.
And he's got to be concerned here as he takes one off the Ballista. Ingram does have Force of Will plus a blue card, but Kenton has picked up Lion's Eye Diamond. So Salvagers and Lion's Eye Diamond plus this Ballista in play is a lethal combo.
Correct. He just needs to put this Auriok Salvagers onto the battlefield, and the game will effectively be over at that point.
So one way to do it is, if he has another Plains, we make a Plains, make a Salvagers. And actually one of his lands is Cavern of Souls, so he might even be able to sneak around the Force of Will.
Right, so here we need to see a few more mana from Kenton, but assuming that works out, then he's in great shape here.
And he actually thought pretty hard about whether he wanted to expose Cavern of Souls or Ancient Tomb first, in case there was a second Wasteland.
Right, and the thought here is it is less likely that Ingram has another Wasteland as well as a Force of Will, and this is hedging against only Force of Will instead of the Wasteland as well. There are certain hands where you kind of have to go, well, if my opponent has Wasteland and Force, I don't think I can beat that. Both of these cards are bad against Wasteland, so instead I'll do the thing that respects Force a little bit more.
Ponder from Ingram. Needs to get this Wasteland down, otherwise Bomberman's Kenton could win on the next turn. Picked up Lightning Bolt, but Auric Salvagers is a 2/4.
Ooh. And we do see 2 lands and a Delver of Secrets on top for Ingram, so it really in some ways just feels like the world is his oyster. He just needs these spells to happen. He needs to make sure he gets time to play his cards.
Makes way and draws Volcanic Island, and there is Wasteland on Cavern of Souls. That'll keep him alive.
Excellent. When you have something like Force of Will in hand as your safeguard, you really need to prioritize getting things like Cavern of Souls off the battlefield.
Ballista keeps swinging in. Another Cavern from Kenton.
Wow.
Now, does Pete have another Wasteland?
Oh.
He does not.
Oh my gosh, is this it?
Well, he can force the Lion's Eye Diamond, which gives him exactly 1 turn.
Correct.
So, not great, but there's a chance. He's going to Lightning Bolt the Ballista. That goes upstairs. Blades, clearing away for a Delver. With Ballista gone, Kenton would have infinite mana, but maybe he has nothing to do with it.
Auric Salvagers gets back Ballista.
Oh, well, that's a problem now.
That's what we call a combination.
You can put it in the graveyard, and it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, the bolt there is just to pave the way for a Delver of Secrets. You might as well. You need to apply pressure.
So he's going to make the Delver. That's going to get Swordsed.
This is the type of thing where you know it's going to happen. You just got to take your medicine at some point.
Yeah, now Kenton's going to go for the combo here. It's going to make Pete Force of Will the LED.
Oh my gosh.
And is that another Lion's Eye Diamond?
Second Lion's Eye Diamond off the top.
So here's Lion's Eye Diamond. Here's another Lion's Eye Diamond. This is going to do it.
Oh my gosh.
Says yes, yes. Ancient Tomb, uncounterable Auric Salvagers. Here is the combo. Discards the hand, makes 3 mana, uses 2 of it to get back the Lion's Eye Diamond. That's as much mana as you want. Then you spend the mana to get back Walking Ballista. Now, Walking Ballista is counterable, but then he just does it again, and you see the hand extended by Pete Ingram. So,
oh my gosh.
Kenton Najdzien with the win, 2-1, keeps his team alive.
And that is the power of Bomberman, is so little of that could be interacted with because Auric Salvagers buys back cards, Cavern makes it uncounterable.
Right, you can force any of these artifacts and they just come back on the same turn.
Exactly.
And that 4th point of toughness on Salvagers. Just a pain.
So big. It can't be Abrupticated. It cannot be Lightning Bolted. It can't be Abraded. So many of the popular answers in Legacy just barely don't line up against Auric Salvagers, and it plays so well with the card that basically gets turned into Black Lotus.
So now it comes down to Corey Baumeister to win the round for his team. He's on the draw in a matchup that is dicey.
The pressure's on. This is, he has not got to feel good about this spot. You see him kind of just laugh it off and going, all right, guys, I'm going to do my best.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Wow, is it really that easy?
That's what Corey would. That's Corey's attitude.
That's true. That's true. He's kind of going, all right, we're in top 4. We're here. Let's keep going. Got to stay in the tournament as long as possible.
So Sky on the play here for game 3.
All right,
there.
pep talk,
Yeah.
energy. Shaheen trying to give that good juju.
Good hand. All right. So, comes down to one game. Sky on the play. He has Scape Shift in the opener.
High pressure pregame handshake is just so much. It feels, I don't know about you, I love it when it happens.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, all right, we are going to play Magic and we are going to have a good time one way or another.
How do you feel about this hand? It's pretty slow, but
No
it's got all the
blue?
pieces.
Does it have blue?
Unsure. I know it has Hydroid Crisis, Teferi, Scape Shift, and 3 lands, but I don't know that we have any ramp. Yes, he's consulting with teammate Ben Reilly about this one. Blast Zone.
Forest.
One of the lands. Yeah, I don't know that he has blue. So it's a real slow start, and Corey could sneak under this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one of his fast. We see an Odapec Huntmaster in his hand, maybe a Marauding Raptor. This is very doable for him.
Huntmaster might be the most important card in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a start on Temple Garden. Yeah, it looks like Temple Garden, Forest, Blast Zone, where the 3 lands Sky kept. Another Teferi. That's no help. Here's Blast Zone.
This is how it happens.
This was risky. Has Growth Spiral in his hand, too. There was a lot to like. But he needs that blue mana.
Right, he needs to find it right now or this game will very likely slip away from him, and we will see the upset from Baumeister.
Huntmaster. Arboreal Grazer not going to do it.
No.
It can't even ramp him. He doesn't have any more lands.
Oh, my gosh.
Grazer here is an interesting one.
It gains life.
It does. But it does deny him some ramp. If next turn he draws his blue mana source, he could do Teferi minus draw card, play Grazer, and if that card he drew is a land, he gets them both.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Detail. Maybe it doesn't matter, but he does lose the opportunity to ramp.
You have to come down to, it comes down to, do you think it is more relevant to gain the life or play to the top of your deck being exactly untap blue source into land?
Right. And that's a pretty unlikely sequence, but if it's the sequence you need to win, then it's the one you need to play to.
Right, you're exactly right. Oh, my God.
Oh, okay. Or maybe none of it matters. We see 2 Rotting Regisaurs and a Marauding Raptor.
This is going to be the upset. It's going to happen.
This is so much. So fortunately, there's a 6, 7, and 7. There's 20 power of creatures that Corey just made. Only one of them can attack. But here's the swing. A draw off the top for Sky. It's not a land.
Oh, is that a Selesnya Guildgate?
That's not anything. Corey has...
He's done it.
He's done it. He's
done it.
And this start might have beaten a much stronger hand, too, that Corey has. This is great.
This is the draw. This is why you play the deck. Look at this.
You get 7 6s for 3 with haste.
Yeah.
You can sell me on that. And Corey Baumeister... one play away here. It's going to be the Ceratop.
Oh my
that is
gosh.
5 power, so
7,
that is it.
14,
That's
22.
20. And the handshake, and that is match. Pete Ingram, Shaheen Soorani, and
Oh
Corey
my
Baumeister head on to the
gosh.
finals. Yeah, a huge pat on the back from Shaheen.